William Hogarth is a fascinating artist, an individualist with a keen eye and an original style. He's remembered mainly as a painter of moralist themes with a satirical tone. He was very successful, both as a painter and a printmaker. He worked on a large range of subjects, from formal society portraits to satirical images dealing with many different themes such as political corruption, sex, crime, and other customs and problems of modern urban life. Hogarth was from London. His art reflects the consequences of the rapid growth of the city and the transformation of its society. In the mid-18th century, London had become the largest city in Europe, with approximately 700,000 people. Just a century earlier, it had been 10 times smaller. In this painting, known as A Midnight Modern Conversation, we see an exaggerated portrayal of the drinking clubs that existed in London, where men, including Hogarth himself, would meet. Hogarth paints a very humorous image of the result of the excess of drink. This is a variation on a type of subject known at the time as conversation pieces. These were group portraits, painted in small scale, that usually show groups of figures in polite attitudes, drinking tea or playing cards, or simply engaged in conversation. The subject was very popular in England at the time. Hogarth and his English colleagues were inspired in this by similar paintings made in Holland in the 17th century. Hogarth painted some proper conversation pieces, but many, such as the one that we see here, are satirical. They offer criticism of society through comical means. Hogarth made several versions of a pair of images known as Before and After. In one of the other pairs, in the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge, you can look for it in the internet, it is clear that he's poking fun at a type of painting fashionable in France at this time, and the work of artists such as Antoine Watteau and Boucher, which showed elegant men trying to seduce women with clear sexual purposes. In this pair of paintings on the screen, which belong to the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, the gravity of the situation is more obvious. The man is trying to rape the young woman. The table that she tries to hold on to offers little help. In the other painting in the pair, the one titled After, the frantic dog has fallen asleep. He symbolizes satisfied desire. And the mirror has broken after falling on the ground. It means that the woman's virginity has been lost. The rapid rise in population in London, as people from the country came into the city, created a sense of disorder. One problem was a dramatic increase in the abuse of alcohol, particularly gin. It was so large that it became known as the gin epidemic, or the gin craze, and took place during the first half of the 18th century. Massive consumption of alcohol and extreme drunkenness became pervasive. The political consequences of this, and the attempts at legislation to remedy the problem, have been compared to the drug situation in our own times. This print, known as Gin Lane, was created in this context. Hogarth uses satire to offer a scathing view of the problem. The location that we see here has been identified as an area of London to the north of Covent Garden. The city and its dwellers are ravaged by the effects of excessive drinking. The woman in the foreground ignores the peril of her child. Because of the effects of alcohol, she can worry only about the snuff or ground tobacco that she's about to take. Through an opening on the broken side of a building, to the right, we see a dead man hanging. We also see an impaled child, and a woman being put into a coffin. This print was sold and showed in shop windows. It was very well known and influential in the passing of legislation known as the Gin Act in 1751, which managed to reduce the problem of excessive alcohol consumption. Hogarth prints were also known outside of England. Prints allowed for a wide dissemination of images. The combination of critical, reformist, and satirical tone that we find in these images influenced Goya at the end of the 18th century in Spain. In this print, known as The Bench, we see a group of 4 judges uninterested in the case that they're supposed to be hearing. 2 read papers related to other things, and 2 have fallen asleep. The undignified judges have actually been identified. The largest man is Sir John Wiles, Chief Justice, who had a reputation for immorality and was said to have 26 illegitimate children. The importance of their job, conveyed by the wigs and robes, contrasts with their attitudes. Above the judges is an unfinished addition to the print, made just before Hogarth's death. It shows 8 heads. Some are taken from Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. One reproduces one of the judges. To the right, the 4 faces are painted as character studies. To the left, the faces are drawn as caricatures. 2 of the 4 faces on the left repeat in caricature form the faces to the far right. Hogarth did this for a particular reason. At several points during his career, he expressed his disgust with critics who considered that all his art was a caricature. He wanted to be more, a painter of high-minded ideas. He argued that he painted caricatures, but also characters, and that painting characters was what the art of painting had been about since the Renaissance. In this print, he wanted to show what the difference was between the two. The text below the image refers to this. Caricature was about comical resemblance, he writes. The depiction of real character for him was a higher and more demanding goal. The face is the index of the mind, Hogarth writes in the inscription. To paint this well is extremely difficult, worthy only of the great masters. Critics, branding all his work as caricatures, he says, did not understand the difference between the two.